Good evening, members and officers of the Council and members of the press and public. I welcome you to this annual meeting of the Council. If the fire alarm is activated, please vacate the offices via the stairs, either through the security doors to my right or opposite the lifts in the foyer. Please do not use the lifts. Please assemble in Hawley Square on the Green. Officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the chamber. The proceedings of this meeting will be recorded and subsequently broadcast on the internet. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public areas may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Does anyone intend filming the meeting? Yeah. Any members of the public who object to the possibility of being filmed may wish to take this opportunity to leave the meeting. Any filming or recording will not be permitted for any item of business where exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and public from the meeting. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and that they are not used to make or receive phone calls in the chamber while this meeting is in progress. Apologies for absence. Apologies have been received from Councillors Curran and Venables. Are there any other apologies?
Councillor Bryn.
Agenda item number 2 is election of chairman. The first item of business is to elect the chairman of the council for the ensuing year. Are there any nominations? Councillor Bayford.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor David Saunders. David's been a TDC councillor for 7 years and a Broadstairs and St Peter's Town councillor for slightly longer, I believe. He's been a past mayor of Broadstairs and St Peter's, 2 years running. For the last 3 years, he's been a superb chair of overview and scrutiny and actually steered that panel through some fairly choppy waters at times. A couple of memorable public meetings here where his patience and good humour were tested to the limit. More importantly, he's a Charlton Athletic supporter. What more could you want, honestly? The chair is the public face of TDC, and we couldn't have a better ambassador than David Saunders, and I'm delighted to propose him as chair for the year ensuing. Thank you.
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to second that nomination. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Right. Okay. As there are no other candidates, I declare that Councillor Saunders has been elected Chairman of Thanet District Council for the ensuing year. Yeah, right. I would just like to say a few words as outgoing chairman. First of all, I would like to thank Madeline Homer and all the senior officers who have reluctantly kept me on the straight and narrow. But without them, you cannot function, and it is a very fulfilling task to do. I would like to thank Councillor Hunter Stummy-Schmerksing and Councillor Sarah Larkins for being my escorts. I would like to thank Councillor Robin Edwards for his stalwart support as being my vice chairman. And last but not least, I would like to thank Charlie. She is a gem. She gets you wherever you've got to go. There's always a smile on her face, and she is a really, really lovely person. Thank you, Charlie, for a most enjoyable year. Please now be upstanding while the platform party retires for a few minutes in order for the new chairman to be invested with the chain and badge of office.
It's the first time I've seen the script for this evening, so I'll do my best. No ad-libbing tonight, members. I call upon the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Chairman. I invite Councillor Saunders as the Chairman for 2018-19 to make the declaration of acceptance of office.
I, David Saunders, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Thanet District Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Having done that, my next duty is to appoint my escort, and I therefore have had very little discussion prior to this meeting, but I'd like to elect my wife, Councillor Maeve Saunders. Thumbs up, so we're on the right road. Thank you very much. And we move on to agenda item 3, which is the election of a vice chairman. Are there any nominations? Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to nominate Councillor Gary Taylor. It's a real pleasure to put his name forward for this post. He is the visible face of councillors in the Dane Valley area. People are used to seeing him around, and I think he would do a splendid job assisting you on the top table. Thank you, Chair.
Is there a seconder?
Yes, I'm more than happy to second that.
Are there any other nominations? As there are no other nominations for candidates, I declare that Councillor Gary Taylor is elected Vice Chairman of Thanet Council for the ensuing year. Thank you. Thank you. I call upon the monitoring officer.
I invite Councillor Gary Taylor as the Vice Chairman for 2018-19 to make the declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Gary Taylor, having been elected to the office of Vice Chairman of Thanet District Council, declare that I take office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Sign there.
Thank you. I'd like to appoint my escort is my wife, Kelly Taylor.
Thank you. If I can congratulate Councillor Taylor, I'm sure he'll do a very good supporting role, and as has already been mentioned, once the football season comes along, he may well have to fulfil that role on occasions for me. So we move on to the formal agenda now, and that's agenda item 4, which is minutes of the previous meeting. I move that the minutes of the previous council meeting held on the 12th of April 2018 be approved. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
I second that.
Do members agree that I sign the minutes as a true record? Thank you. Agenda item 5 is declarations of interests. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Campbell.
Only a general declaration of interest in agenda item 11, members' allowance scheme.
I think that's taken as read. Monitor officer will make comment.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, there's already a general dispensation in place for all members in terms of their payments and allowances. Thank you.
Agenda item 6 is announcements, and it is with regret that I have to announce that Councillor Alan Howes has passed away. I'm sure the Council will join me in expressing sympathy to Councillor Hayes' family. Could all members therefore please stand for a minute's silence as a mark of respect for the late Councillor Howes. Thank you. Does any member wish to say a few words? Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Chair. There has indeed been a great deal of sadness expressed by many people today, and it is in that spirit of sadness that we learned of the death of our friend, Councillor Alan Howes. Alan joined this group in January because he has always been fiercely independent, wanting to serve his community and to honour pledges that he'd made. Alan served as Vice Chairman of this council for 2 years, and what we learned from that, among other things, was that he was perfectly capable of behaving in a manner befitting the occasion. He knew, too, how to cut to the crux of the matter without any proxenetism. He had a passion for speaking his mind and telling the truth as he saw it, which certainly rippled the waters on more than one occasion. Such characters are people who make life a little more interesting for the rest of us. He has always been a feisty character, even back in the day when he was a senior London black cab operator. I'm told that he once brought large parts of London to a standstill when organising a protest to protect his colleagues. Alan was immensely proud of his association with the Freemasons and tried to live according to his faith. Contributors to social media posts on Birchington pages today have spoken with genuine appreciation for his forthright honesty. It may be that from time to time there's a temptation for some of us, and I include myself, to get a little too carried away with our own sense of importance in this place. But Alan never forgot that it was ordinary local people who put him here, and he was determined to serve them and not himself. We send our deepest sympathies to Alan's wife Doreen, his daughters Claire and Jan, and his beloved grandchildren Morgan, Denholm, Alice and Lauren. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Piper. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Alan, of course, served as a UKIP councillor from May 2015 until January of this year, and for 2 years as the Vice Chairman of this council, as has already been said. I suppose, having been quite shocked initially by the news this morning, upon reflection, I think there's probably 3 things I always remember very clearly about Alan, which will stick in my mind, I think, from the day I met him until a long time hence. The first was his enormous pride in being a member representing Birchington. You couldn't fill a room with people who would not think of him as being proud and wanting to do the best he could for the village itself on each and every occasion. The second, I think, would be his usual very swift condemnation of why Birchington should be protected against DFLs, which was almost immediately followed by an admission that he was himself a DFL, but obviously in his mind of a different type and sort. And perhaps for those of you who are on the planning committee, I'll always remember Alan for having his own slightly independent and peculiar interpretation of planning legislation, and never quite understanding why everybody else didn't see it his way. May he rest in peace, and certainly our sympathy goes to his wife and family as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Agenda item 7, responsibility for functions. Executive, I call upon the leader.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. May I be the first to congratulate you and Councillor Taylor on your appointments. I gather at this stage I have to announce who my portfolio holders are, and that's Corporate Governance and Coastal Development, Councillor Savage; Operational Services, Councillor Taylor-Smith; Financial Services, Councillor Gregory; Housing and Safer Neighbourhoods, Councillor Game; and everything that nobody else wants, me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bayford. I now call upon Councillor Reverend Piper to name his opposition spokespeople. Councillor Piper.
Thank you, Chair. Nobody wants me very much either, so I'll shadow Councillor Bayford. Our opposition spokesperson and Deputy Leader of this group is Councillor Edward J. Jones. Corporate Governance, Coastal Development is Councillor George Rozecki. Operational Services, Councillor Suzanne Brim. Housing and Safer Neighbourhoods, Councillor Edward J. Jones. Financial Services and Estates, Councillor Trevor Shonk.
Thank you, Councillor Piper. I call upon Councillor Wells to name his opposition spokespersons.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've left the piece of paper behind, so I might just get this wrong, but Councillor John Townend to be Corporate and Estates, Councillor Lynn Fairbrass to be Deputy Leader and Corporate Governance? Housing, etc. Councillor Hunter Stummer-Schmertzing to shadow Councillor Savage, Councillor Derek Crowbrown to shadow Councillor Savage. Yeah? I'll try and make a mess of this. And nobody really wants the bits I'm going to do, which is dealing with Councillor Bayford, but I will put that up in a list shortly.
Thank you. Council is asked to note the Cabinet portfolios, Cabinet portfolio holders, opposition spokespeople portfolios, operational accountabilities and executive delegated functions. This item is for noting only and cannot be voted upon. Thank you. Agenda item 8, appointment of independent members of the Standard Committee. I move that the Council approve the appointment of Dr. Sexton as an independent member of the Standards Committee until the 2019 annual Council meeting. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
I second that, Chair.
Thank you. Do members agree? Thank you. I move that the Council approve the appointment of Mrs Bacon as an independent member of the Standards Committee until the 2019 annual Council meeting. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
I second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 9, constitution of committees, political balance, appointments to committees, panels and boards. Would members please refer to the supplementary agenda item number 1 and the members' notes? Would members please note that the report does not reflect the recent passing of Councillor Howes. The options proposed in the report will be an interim arrangement pending the recalculation of proportionality for consideration at the Council meeting on the 12th of July. Number and size of committees. I move that the number of committees and the number of members to serve on those committees as shown in Table 1 of the report be adopted. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
I second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Political proportionality. I call upon the leader to make a proposal in respect of the options as outlined in the report.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Unlike Councillor Wells, who was unprepared, option 1 I have written down here. Thank you.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does any member wish to propose an alternative option? It was just one option proposed. Do members agree? Thank you. Yeah. Standards Committee. Standards Committee. I move that the Council agrees to waive proportionality for the Standards Committee and to apply the approximate proportionality as set out in Table 4 of the report. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
Second, Chairman.
Do members agree? Thank you. Joint Transportation Board. I move that Council agrees the proportionality between groups for the Thanet District Council seats on the Joint Transportation Board set out in Table 5 of the report. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. East Kent Joint Arrangements Committee. I move that Council agrees the Joint Arrangements Committee as set out in Table 6 of the report. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
Second that, Chair.
Members agree? Thank you. Nomination of members to serve on committees. The group leaders have advised of their nominations to the committees which have been set out in the members' notes. Does any group leader wish to make any changes? Councillor Bayford.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm very conscious that I took a lot of Nick's time yesterday trying to make this as smooth as silk. Unfortunately, I got a couple of things wrong. I would like to add to the Planning Committee Councillor Evans. On Governance and Audit, I would like to remove Councillor Game and Councillor Gregory and add Councillor Messenger and Councillor Banbridge. And on Joint Transportation, remove Councillor Dawson and Councillor Game, who are there as KCC members anyway, and add Councillors Rogers and Parsons. Thank you.
Subject to those minor revisions, would the Vice Chairman please... Sorry.
To add to standards, Councillor Dawson. Thank you.
Any other changes? In that case, once my friend on my right has finished writing, I will ask the Vice Chairman to please second, based, of course, with those revisions.
Second that, Chair.
Thank you. Do members agree? Thank you. Elections of Chairman and Vice Chairman of committees, panels and boards for the 2018-19 municipal year. I move that the Council agrees the election of those nominations for Chairman and Vice Chairman of committees as shown in the members' notes. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Standards Committee and Constitutional Review Working Party. I move that Dr. Jonathan Sexton be appointed Chairman of the Standards Committee and the Constitutional Review Working Party for the 2018-19 municipal year, and that Mrs. Janet Bacon be appointed Vice Chairman of the Standards Committee and Constitutional Review Working Party for the 2018-19 municipal year. Would the Vice Chairman please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 10, presentation on outside bodies. Would members please refer to the members' note? I call upon the leader to propose the lists of non-executive and make nominations to those non-executive outside bodies.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to propose the list as appears in members' notes and the nominations thereon. And I would also ask members again to look at the list of bodies where we currently don't have representatives, and if anybody is prepared to volunteer to go on those, would they contact me fairly soon, please? Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's not a nomination. I'd like to suggest that the representatives on these outside bodies make some report at some stage throughout the year, so we know exactly what's going on these outside bodies. At the moment, it's mute. We hear nothing. I don't want them to stand up individually and spend hours and hours talking. Perhaps a small written report that could be sent around on an email, perhaps in the loop even, to inform members of what's going on the outside bodies.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. I think that's an excellent suggestion, and we have raised it at scrutiny in the past. Do I have a seconder to... That was the seconding, wasn't it? Do members agree? Thank you. And agenda item 11 is Members' Allowance Scheme 2018-19. Would members please note there is a typographical error in recommendation number 1 of the report. The recommendation should read to amend the names of the following SRAs: Group Leader of Largest Opposition Group to be known as Opposition Leader of a Group with 10 or more members, and Deputy Group Leader of Largest Opposition Group to be known as Deputy Opposition Leader of a Group with 10 or more members. I call upon the leader.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm looking to Nick Hughes. With those amendments, can I move the proposal as printed? Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded, Madam Chairman. Mrs. Chairman. Sorry, Chairman. My apologies there.
Never on a Thursday. Do members agree? Thank you. That concludes the business of this annual meeting of the Council, and I apologise for not having read the script in advance, but I'll do better next time. Thank you very much.